Molly, welcome back to Mirror Readings. We're talking about the pathways right now. So the pathway in particular is between our SQ and our core. And this is the pathway of realization. It's also the pathway of core stability. Each of the 3 gene keys sequences, our genius activation, our Venus, our Pearl, they all have a pathway of challenge, a pathway of breakthrough, and a pathway of core stability. So as we move from our SQ, our spiritual quotient, along the path of realization, so we achieve core stability. Let's get into it. Have you ever had to let go of all the structures that are holding your life up? I have. It sucked. And that sentiment is what this path of realization is all about, even though it's paradoxically bringing us to core stability. So when we completely disidentify with everything that's propping us up and all we have is ourselves, right? When what we identify more than anything with is our soul and the will of the creator, all of a sudden we're chilling. All of a sudden, no matter what we're dealing with, we're a lot more relaxed. That's what core stability is all about. So just as a thought exercise, imagine letting go of everything, or what would be the things you'd have to let go of if all of the external support systems you have were to just go away all at once. When there's nothing else holding us up, nothing outside of ourselves, we realize that we are collaborators with the great cosmic algorithm. It's not just doing it to us, and we're not just doing it to life. We are working together to create our experience. And that realization brings us into the power of our core. This is where our core wound becomes our core stability and ultimately brings us into our vocation and into the Pearl sequence, which is all about prosperity. So I see the shadows of my SQ as coming from past lives, and the shadow of my core as being ancestral wounding. Now, this is not an official Gene Keys interpretation. This is a Molly from Mirror Readings interpretation. But I have the 21st shadow of control in my SQ, and I know from doing a lot of deep work in the Akashic around my interpersonal relationships that control fear is all about me being afraid to love. It's all about all these lifetimes where I gave so much of myself and then something terrible happened, right? And if I'm in that shadow of control, my ego is telling me that I'm safe, right? So I have to get into my spiritual authority, okay, to have the core stability that comes from my core, which is Gene Key 2. So that's the shadow of dislocation, okay, and the gift of orientation. So when I lost everything, literally like in a couple of months in 2013, I lost my business, my partner, and my home. Thankfully, people were letting me couch surf, but I was legitimately homeless. And that put me right in that shadow of dislocation. So for me to stabilize in the gift of orientation, I had to learn to orient beyond my support structures. I had to learn to orient spiritually, and that is when I went through my spiritual awakening. So that's karma in action for you, all right? To me, that's the algorithm of life doing its thing. I had a lesson I needed to learn. I needed to work through my core wound, which was apparently the shadow of dislocation I didn't know I had because I hadn't discovered the Gene Keys yet. It was only 2013, okay? So Dharma, on the other hand, and again, this is not Gene Keys official material or Hindu official material, Jesus. This is my personal opinion. I believe that Dharma is all about choosing our lessons. When we become proactive spiritually and proactive about our own development, we're able to choose people and situations that are going to serve up the lessons that we need, rather than having to be unconsciously pulled into difficult lessons like I was when I blew up my old life and lost everything. And if you're unclear about how any shadows are playing out in your life, definitely ask someone, all right? Particularly someone who knows you pretty good, who's gonna be honest. But recently, I asked this question. The answer I got was quite surprising. The answer I got from my sister, thanks Abby, was stop worrying so much about everyone else. Like, stop micromanaging other people's experiences. And to me, it's coming from a place of like wanting everyone to be comfortable and have a good time, blah, blah, blah. No, this is a control drama, okay? It's right there in my SQ. It's blocking me from stepping into my spiritual authority, and it's keeping me dislocated because rather orienting to the moment, all right? Again, that's my core. Got the gift of orientation, the shadow of dislocation. I'm dislocated, spinning out, trying to manage everyone else's experience. And it's no good. But I couldn't have gotten to that realization on my own. I needed the reflection of others to walk this pathway of realization and get to my core stability. There's a bunch of other things to say about this pathway, but honestly, you just gotta pick this bad boy up, okay? This pathway of realization is a beefy ass chapter that gets into a lot of esoteric stuff that feels like quite a bit to explain right now. Like the gene keys, this is a system that you study over many lifetimes, okay? Definitely a single lifetime. Like, I love to binge new information, and when something resonates with me, I just wanna go ham on it, but I read this chapter and I'm like, whoa, dude, we're talking about other dimensions. We're talking about the Ring of Trials. We're talking about the sealing of the five senses, okay? Unnaming the world. What? Reinterpreting frequencies? Now we're talking about the flowering of the rainbow body. I mean, this sounds sick, but the problem with this system is that it's just too many words, and it's written in English, and English is a clunky ass language. So we're doing the best we can with what we have, right? We are just, souls having a human experience. We got to work with what we got. But too much information for me means I can't absorb any information. So I have to go a little bit at a time. So I'm going to save the rainbow light body for a later video. Last thing I'll say though is that this path is taking us to our core wounding, okay? So even though it's the path of realization and core stability, it's still taking us to like a very scary and vulnerable place. And we have to be willing to go there to stabilize. And our core is what connects the Venus sequence and Pearl sequence. So this is connecting our relationships to our prosperity and ultimately back to our life's work. It's very important to be willing to sit with the discomfort of the shadow of our core. So that's it for the pathway of realization and core stability. I'm Molly. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. Are you vibing with this content? Please leave me a comment, subscribe. You could send me an email even, or a carrier pigeon if you prefer. Email's probably easier, mirrorreadings@gmail.com. And if you'd like to get a Gene Keys reading from me, please visit my website, mirrorreadings.com, and subscribe to this channel to save 15%.